Hello everyone. In this brief tutorial I will show you how to put two microscopy images together into a composite figure. I'll start by looking at my two images. There's one, there's the other. I want to put them together in a way that I have two identically sized panels right next to each other in a single Photoshop file with layers preserved so that I can edit things later on. And I want to choose sort of a square area of interest of each of those two images. So I'm going to start by using the rectangular marquee tool up here. And the default setting would be, for the style, would be normal. So instead of normal, I'm going to use a fixed size setting, which allows me to enter any pixel dimension for width and height. So I'm going to choose 800 pixels by 800 pixels to make it a square selection here. And then if you click into the image, it will draw up my square selection, which I can drag anywhere I like. And I perhaps want to choose this area. So I will copy this area into the clipboard and we'll start a new file by going to File, New. Since I have my square already in the clipboard, Photoshop populates the information in these choices here. So it knows we have an 800 by 800 pixel image in there. It knows it's 300 pixels per inch of resolution. It's a grayscale image, 16-bit, so I can leave all this intact. And I want to choose a white background. One thing I want to change is because I want both of my images, my panels right next to each other, I need to choose a larger width than 800. So I could double it to 1600, but I want to have a little bit extra space, so let's choose 2000 pixels. And maybe I might want to have a little bit of space on top and below, so let's choose, say, 1400 for the height. Here we go. Now I will paste in the image I have in the clipboard, and I use the Move tool up here to move it somewhere. Let's say somewhere here. All right, we go to the other image, and I use the rectangular marquee tool still, same fixed size, 800 by 800. I click anywhere, and I choose this area. Okay, I copy it. I put it into my my new file by pasting it in there, and I'll choose the the Move tool to move it around. It should snap it so that it will automatically be aligned, and I can now use the cursor to move things a little bit, gradually left or right. And I want to have the two images next to each other but not touching each other, so I want some white space in between. Okay. Zoom in a little. Now, next thing we might want to do is put some labels on there. So let me choose the text tool, which is right here, and I'll select it. It's giving me a hard time here. There we go. Let's say I want to have a white text. Do it like this, and let's start typing. So I call this panel A. Here we go. This A is a little bit too small, so I'll make it a larger font size. Let's see, maybe something like this. That might be a little bit too large now, so let's go to 30 pixels, and perhaps instead of regular, I'll make this bold. And here we go. So let's go to the Move tool. We can still move it around, and it looks fine up there. And as you can see, every time I paste something into my image or I add a new text, it actually adds a whole new layer. So the first image I pasted in here is this one, and you can toggle the visibility on and off by clicking on the eye here. This is the other layer. You can toggle this on and off, and here's my text. And again, toggle it on and off. So if I want to label the other image B, I could easily do this by right-clicking here onto the A text layer and duplicating it. I duplicate the layer, and I could call it B, for example. All right. But now I have an identical layer on top of the previous layer, so you won't be able to see a difference. So I'll just use the move tool to move it around, and I hold the shift key to restrain the movement to horizontal or vertical. So I'll just drag it right. Now I can let go, and I'll double click here and name it B. Type in B instead of A. Good, here we go, A and B. Perhaps you might want to add some other text, maybe in black on the outside. So I would want to make sure I have a black foreground layer. And an easy way of doing this is just clicking this little button, which sets everything to the default black foreground, white background. So now if I go to my text tool and I click somewhere down here, it should give me, no it doesn't, it gives me a white. Alright, let's change it to black here. No problem. Alright, let's call these subconfluent. Alright, it's a little bit too large, so we select this and I'll make it larger, smaller. What's this? Alright, I'll put it somewhere here. I'm just doing a sort of like a quick job here. I could align this a little bit better. Alright, here we go, and let me duplicate this text layer again. And the new layer now selected here, I will drag it over using my move tool and using the shift key held, so I can move it exactly horizontally. And let's change the text. I'll double click, select the part that I want, and call it comfort. Alright, here we go. I could do any type of additional labeling. I could put an arrow in there, and let me show you how this might work. A good way of making an arrow is to use the line tool. So you go to the toolbox here on the left, and it has the different shapes. One of them is the line tool. Okay, here we go. I think I want to make this a white arrow, so I click instead of black, I make this white. There we go. And let's just for a test, I'll drag something here. So it's way too skinny. Let me undo this, Command Z on the Mac. And I'll change the width to, say, 10. Let's do a little test. Okay, that looks much better. Undo. But I wanted an arrow, so I need an arrowhead at the end. Now the trick is to go to this little triangle, which you would never find out unless somebody tells you about it. And it gives you the option to add an arrowhead to the end. And you can change the dimensions of it. So let's use this. Now if I drag, I will get an arrow. There we go. And it looks like a fine arrow pointing at this group of cells here. And as you can see, as I created the arrow, it actually made a whole new layer. So I can move this around again, let's say using my move tool, and I could point at this group of cells or at this particular cell, and so on. So here we go. Probably the last thing I might want to do is I crop any unneeded space using the crop tool, because I don't want to have all this extra white space here. This looks like a good crop. To make the crop permanent, I can either click the little check mark up here, or I just double click into the area. Let me double click, and now my crop is permanent. So here's my final image, and I have preserved all the layers. As long as I save it in Photoshop format, it will always stay intact. I can open it later on again. I can get back to my different layers, change the labels from A or B to, say, C or D, and I can add additional images, additional layers, and so on. Okay, that's it for the moment.